everyone, welcome back to Call Your Friends. We're your friends, Maddie
and Lauren.
And today we are discussing my birthday. Well, today's not actually my birthday, but let's pretend it is. I think when this episode comes out, it will be tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening to this, tomorrow's my birthday. My birthday's on a Saturday, which is fun. I feel like it's better than like a Monday birthday or something.
Mm-hmm.
But today we want to continue the tradition and talk about things that I've learned this year, which, I'm getting a little bit old. So I feel like I can't do like 25 things I learned at 25 because I'm like running out of unique things at least to talk about. And not even saying that these will all be unique. I mean, I feel like we kind of have the same sort of lessons every single year that we discuss in the podcast. But we're thinking of doing a few lessons, maybe like 5 or so, and then talking about them in more detail. So that's the plan for today. Maybe I can explain a little bit about what I'm doing for my birthday because it's going to be a really fun time.
Yes, I was hoping you would.
All right, so I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to do something in LA because, I don't know. I feel like birthdays are a lot overhyped, and sometimes that means that they end up being less fun than you think that they'd be because it's like a big day or like a big night. Like you think it's going to be so fun.
Mm-hmm.
But usually I think it's a little bit disappointing. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it really is about what your expectation going into it is.
Right.
If you think that it's going to be a crazy, life-changing day, and you expect to feel totally different because you're a new age. Like, when you were younger and people would say, so how do you feel like now that you're 15? How do you feel? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true.
And you're like, I feel the same. Like, I'm the same person I was yesterday. I don't know. As long as you don't set your expectations too high, I think birthdays can be fun. Normally, we will plan something for our birthday, something fun with our friends. So it has the potential to be a fun time, but I think you just can't set your expectations too high.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I'm kind of debating if I'll do something in LA. If I do, it will be probably a dinner and then to go out to like a bar or something. So that would be the 18th, which is Thursday. The day after that, I'm actually flying to Utah. So I have to drive to Long Beach. I think it's Long Beach, yeah, which is kind of far. It's like in Orange County, but like kind of a trek. But we're flying to Page, Arizona, which is there's not a lot of flights. There's like one flight per day. And I'm kind of scared it's going to get canceled because, all the flight issues that have been happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if it gets canceled, we're going to have a problem because then I have to drive to Utah, which is not good. I did it last year and it was just not ideal. I had to drive by myself for 4 hours to Vegas and then another 4+ hours from Vegas to Utah. And yeah, it just wasn't for me. I'm not a very confident driver, so hopefully our flight's fine and we can just do that on the Friday, which is the 19th, but I'll let you guys know how that works out if it's all good. I think I should come up with a backup plan if our flight gets canceled.
Okay, what are you thinking backup plan-wise? Like,
another flight.
I feel like the backup plan would just be to drive.
Yeah. That would be the fastest backup plan, but the problem is we're checking in on the 19th, so I want to get there. Like, if we wake up at 7 and our flight's canceled, I mean, I guess that's not that bad. It's an 8-hour drive. Well, 10. We stopped so many times. Also, I have a Tesla, so we have to charge it. Like, we had to charge the car probably 5 times on the way back because we drove straight from Utah to LA. And by the time we got to LA, we were so happy that we were back.
Yeah, the Tesla is great for short trips.
Yeah.
But even when we go to our cottage, we have to stop and charge it. So it's kind of a pain for that.
Yeah.
Definitely not made for a road trip. I also feel like, no offense, you're not really made for road trips. Like, that doesn't seem like something you'd really enjoy. Am I right about that?
It was fun. Honestly, it was really fun with Abby and Sid, who I went to Utah with last year.
Mm-hmm.
On the way back, me, Abby, and Sid all drove together, and it was hilarious.
Okay, cute. Yeah.
But at the time, I'm like, okay, this needs to end. Like, it was so long. I also didn't have to drive the whole way
that
because
is nice.
They were
Switched
in the
off.
car. Although I don't think Abby wanted to drive, so it was just Sid and I. But Sid drove a lot of it, which was nice. But I drove by myself to Vegas, which was terrible. Me alone on the highway, behind the wheel, no one else in the car, not good for me.
Was it busy, though, or was the road basically empty?
It was fine. Once you get out of LA, it's fine. Like, between LA and Vegas, it's just, like, desert. But I'm just not good at driving. I think I've gotten better over the last year, so maybe that's something I've learned at 25 Oh my God, I'm like, am I 21?
I thought you were going to say 22. For some reason, I
was going to say
like
2022
confused.
or 2021, and then I'm like, wait, I'm 25, so that's confusing. But yeah, so anyways, that's what I'm doing for my birthday. I'm going to Utah. If you guys have followed me since last year, or I think the year before we went also, we're going to this resort, which is really amazing. And it's probably one of my favorite places in the world ever. Because, have I talked about this on the podcast, why I like it so much?
I don't know. But if I don't remember, they probably don't as well, so.
I feel like you have a bad memory.
Yeah. Well, sorry if you guys are listening and you do remember, but for me,
brief.
do it again.
So basically, I feel like in any big city, you're very much like in your own life. Like you're very caught up with your day-to-day and everything seems really important to you. It is important in your life, but like I love the feeling of when things are like kind of meaningless, like when you put things into perspective. And I feel like going to a place like that where you're literally in the middle of nowhere, there's no power, there's like generator power, but there's nothing around. It puts your life and like how small everything is into perspective, because I don't know how to explain. You're just like so separated. You're like, how is this part of my life too? I don't know how to explain it. Does that make sense?
I guess. Is it like you're going out of your city and seeing that the world is bigger than just your life? And like,
and like you look up and there's nothing, or you look out and there's nothing, and it's just like, okay, my life is not meaningless, but like the things that I think are so important that I get so like stressed out about don't actually matter. Like look at how vast the world is.
Okay, you know how people talk about having we all live on a floating rock mentality?
Yes.
Is that one of those moments for you? You're just like, I am just one person on this earth, and my problems don't matter in the grand scheme of like the universe and all of that.
Yeah, it makes you feel very small. Like when you're sitting, it's in the desert. So you're in the desert, you're looking out, and there's not one light because there's no lights there. You're in the middle of nowhere. And you're just like, wow, I'm a very small person in this world. I don't know. That's the feeling that I like. So yeah, that's like one of the reasons I like it. Also, it's very nice and very relaxing and beautiful. And I like the desert aesthetic. I find it very nice and like calming. It's not hectic. It's just like very zen. Wouldn't you explain that resort like that?
You know what? A good word to describe Amangiri is zen.
Yeah.
It's like everyone is just chilling. Like
it's so
every part of that experience is just chill.
And the service is amazing. Like it's one of the most unique resorts I've ever been to. For sure. Like the people like know your name. They when you get there, they all come out and like say hi to you.
That was kind of crazy because we went as a family. How long ago? Like
a couple years ago,
maybe 3.
Yeah.
And it was wild. We were greeted by like every staff member.
Yeah.
I feel so special.
It's a very interesting place. And everyone who goes there is interesting because it's like you have to want to go there. Like you're not just going to be like, oh, maybe I'll go stay at this hotel because it's so hard to get to. While I'm explaining my travel endeavor. Like no one's going there.
Because they stumbled upon it?
No. Or like you know what it is if you're going there. And it's probably somewhere that you want to go. So it's always interesting. We were like listening to other people's conversations at the pool because I'm like, what's your life like? But people aren't that friendly. But I feel like they're just there to like detach and relax.
Right.
A lot of people are from LA as well. So it's like the opposite of LA in terms of being really calm and just you're able to chill and like disconnect. Although I didn't exactly disconnect when I was there with my friends.
This girl took so many pictures.
Of course. But also I feel like everything. Like this year it'll be like TikToks.
True.
Photos. Yeah. So
like videos. I need to make reels.
Yeah.
I mean, TikToks.
Seriously. Yeah. So I'm really excited for that. It's a great way to spend my birthday. On my birthday, I think we're going to go to the spa, which is fun. And we had a really great massage there last year. And they do like a sound bath meditation during it.
What is that?
Basically, I don't know what the instrument is called, but it's like a sound. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a noise, like what maybe they would play in like a yoga class or something like that. Okay. Sound of, I don't even want to try to explain, but it's like a chime kind of sound.
Okay, yes.
Picture like a Zen yoga. Chime. Yeah, like that. I'm not even going to try.
Or is it like a ding?
They make different sounds because there's like different size chimes. And they hit it with like some sort of hitting tool.
Like,
I'm not a musician, so I don't know. But something that you can hit a chime with. That's what they hit it with, and it makes a noise, and it's very relaxing. So I'm really excited. Go to the sauna, all that. Are you jealous?
You know, I'm a little upset I wasn't invited. She's like, yeah, I only invited, like, my close friends. I'm like, okay, so what does that make me?
Well, I don't think you'd invite me to your birthday trip, so let's just think about that for a second.
Oh.
Like, think about that. If you could invite 2 people to your birthday, would I be one of them?
For the sake of this discussion, yes. You'd be my first choice.
Sure. So that's what we're doing, and I'm super excited. I don't think we're going to go to Lake Powell this year. It's like a man-made lake in Utah close to the resort, but I don't know. We rented jet skis last year, which was fun, but one of my friends is scared of jet skis, so let's blame it on her. No, I'm just kidding. It was just like a once-in-a-lifetime type of thing.
Right.
But it was a really fun time. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
All right, very exciting.
Any follow-up questions?
I don't think so. You'll have to tell us all about your experience, though. That could basically be a whole episode. Like, what did Maddie do in Omagiri? That's the title. I can already see it.
I mean, I'm sure you guys will see a ton of content, as we said. I'm not disconnecting there. I mean, one time it would be nice to go and disconnect. And, like, imagine going on a vacation and not taking any photos.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
Does that make you feel excited or stressed out? Like, oh, I should have done it, you know?
It kind of makes me feel like I'd be missing out.
I know, a little bit.
But
we were talking about this week. Mm-hmm. So do we like traveling, or do we just like to have exciting things to share? Because I think that when you're at home, like, our life at home is pretty boring.
Yeah.
Like, working and just chilling.
Very much the same every day. Like, you run out of things to share.
Right. So that's why I do like traveling. But it's funny because I'm not really an influencer, really.
Okay.
But for some reason, I do like to get good content to share. I mean, I guess, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, I'm not, like, monetizing my social media, really.
I think it's also just exciting for you because you're invested in your Instagram and taking pictures. And so it's just fulfilling to take good pictures.
Yeah.
And
that's bad. It might be bad, though.
Yeah.
Is it for, like, external validation? Is it for, like, attention?
Yeah, I don't know. That's something for you to unpack, for sure.
I do like when it's, like, good brand content, though. That's the best.
Yes. I don't know. I think I get excited to know that I'm doing something different.
Exactly,
like, my pictures are boring to me.
Yeah.
The ones I take in LA in the same spots as always. Or the worst was when I was at school and I would just take pictures on campus. Like, that's not exciting to me.
Yeah.
It's exciting to take pictures in a new spot and be like, I'm so excited. This is going to look so good.
Excited to share. I guess it's also like a creativity thing.
Yeah, I don't even know that I'm excited to share. I guess I'm excited for other people to see, wow, I've said excited so many times.
It's like validation.
I guess I look forward to seeing or just to share photos that I like with other people, but not really because I am looking for a response from them. Like, I don't know. I try and read my comments, but it's not like I post a picture and immediately go to the comments and I'm like, oh my god, are they calling me pretty yet?
It's true.
You know?
It is true. And I don't really care about engagement anymore. Like, on Instagram, I'm just like, okay, whatever. It's like so not the same. Like, Instagram's not the same as it used to be.
Yeah. I feel like it's just about being creative and then getting to share something that you're proud of with your followers.
That's true. That's really true. Very interesting. We'll have to dive into that a little bit more because, I agree. I don't know if I like traveling. I don't like going on vacation. I like traveling to places like our family's in Egypt right now. And we're like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool to go to Egypt. Mm-hmm. And for me, Egypt would not be about the photos. Like, no. If we got good photos, that'd be cool, but I would love to go.
I think it's different because Egypt is very rich in, like, culture.
Exactly,
you know?
Yeah.
And history. And so it would be cool to see things that you've heard of or, like, that you've read about in your history textbooks. Like, to see the pyramids, for example. Like, that.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, but just to go on a beach vacation, I think it almost becomes about the content because it's normally about relaxing, you know?
Right.
And we don't really relax.
No. Yeah, it makes sense. a trip to a place that you've always wanted to go to is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, if you get the photos, cool. But, like, you're probably not going to get great photos of yourself in Egypt. Like, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be the focus ever.
It wouldn't be about that.
Like that when we were in Italy, I didn't get any good photos really. Well, you weren't there also. So I had to, like, get one of my parents or, like, my sister who doesn't like taking pictures of me to take it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, we just were doing stuff. Like, it wasn't the focus. I was, like, wearing an outfit to wear all day to walk around and, you know, it just wasn't. But if we were in Anguilla, which is another place that my parents like to go, we don't do anything all day. So we just like, ooh, what cute photos can we take to, like, share? And how could I wear some artless stuff here to, you know, share that as well?
Do you remember the full day shoot that we had? Oh, that was in Hawaii. We did some very cool things in Hawaii, but there were some days that were dedicated to relaxing by the beach.
Yeah.
And Maddie and I spent most of those taking pictures.
Well, we brought all the samples.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an artless thing. We were going to get a photographer and stuff too, which we probably should have done so we had, like, an end date.
Yeah.
Or an end time, I guess. But yeah. So I think that actually does make a lot of sense. Traveling is cool too because it gives you more to talk about in life. Like, if you've been to somewhere, I feel like things like that do come up. Like, something maybe it's, like, history related. And you're like, oh, I think you guys were talking about like World War II. You and your friends are talking about World War II. And, like, it's interesting that you've been to different places in Europe that, like, were involved in World War II. You've been to Auschwitz, for example. Like, that's something that you could bring up in a conversation and people would be like, wow, that's so interesting that you went there. What was it like?
Yeah.
It gives you conversation topics.
And it also just makes you more worldly.
Exactly.
And educated on what has happened in other countries and history in general.
Yeah, because we actually don't take world history in high school in Canada. I don't know if they do in the U.S.
In Canada, at least at my school, it was an elective that a lot of people didn't take.
I think I might have taken it, but
I didn't take it.
You don't learn about the world. You learn about Canadian history, which is brief and not very interesting. Yeah. And I took it twice, so I know a lot about Canadian history, but it doesn't come up in conversation.
You make it sound like you failed the class.
Oh, no, I did amazingly twice. But anyways, we're very off track of my birthday. But yeah, how did we get here? We're talking about traveling, I think.
Yes.
About content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Well, there'll be a lot of content. Don't you worry. We're not going on vacation. But one day, I'll go and disconnect there. Should we get into the life lessons or things that I've learned at 25?
Yes. Let's hear the first one.
Okay. Number 1, I just wanted to talk about the idea of not outgrowing friends, but I feel like when you're in high school, you're kind of friendly with everyone, like, or at least, like, a wider friend group. You have a bunch of friends, you socialize, you see the same people over and over again. Same in university, honestly. You meet these friends. I mean, I didn't keep in touch with that many people from university, but I met a lot of people there, of course. And those people meet you at a certain time of your life where you have kind of limited hobbies, experiences. Everything is, you all kind of have the same, you have a lot in common, I guess. Mm-hmm. And as you get older, as you graduate and you start working and, like, become, like, I'm now in my mid-20s, like, fully in my mid-20s.
Like, your age would round up to 30.
Well, let's not push it. I'm 26. Well, 25 right now, but 26 when you guys are probably listening to this. So I think at that time in your life, you actually are probably most likely to make the friends that you're going to keep forever. Mm-hmm. Because you have friends who align with you and you're not fully evolved probably ever, but in your most developed adult self that you've been for your whole life. Like, you're from the age of 0 to, like, early 20s, you're changing a lot. And you don't really know who you are. I mean, this is just a generality, but most people don't really know who they are until they are settled in their life. And I feel like finally, at this age, I'm starting to be settled in my life definitely more so than I was when I first finished school or when I was in university or high school.
Mm-hmm. No, you're definitely right that in high school, especially, it's hard for me to speak on university because I'm not there yet. But in high school, everyone is kind of similar. Like, maybe it's because you're all in the same stage of your life at the same time. Yeah. And all going through similar things. You just have, like, I don't know. You're just not your true self, I think, until you go off into the world and meet different people with different perspectives and like form your own opinions that aren't influenced by your parents and like your high school friends that you've been friends with for maybe since elementary school.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's true. It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And like when you're 25, even though you are in the same stage of life as your friends, you're all in different places. Like professionally, some people might just be starting off, other people are doing very well for themselves. Like it's not like university where you're all just students.
Yeah, and I think that people are more aware of who they are, and they, like in high school, people change to fit in with friend groups. And sure, maybe that does happen now, but it's a lot less common than, like, you just try to find people that are like you instead of being like, oh, I want to be with these people because they're popular. Right. Like, there's not really that sort of social hierarchy or need to be in a group that's, like, cool, if that makes sense. Like, you're just trying to find people that are like who you really are, at least from what I've experienced. So I think that that's cool, and it doesn't mean that you need to cut people off, because I think everyone has friends for different reasons. Like, if I went back to Toronto, I still see my really close friends. Like, the people that want to be in your life will stay in your life. But if I went back to Toronto, there'd be a group of people I could, like, go out with, and it'd be really fun.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that I need to talk to them every day or every week or anything. But I know that we have no problem. Like, there's no issues.
That's just the relationship you have with them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not a bad thing. And it's also not a bad thing to outgrow your friends, even if you were really great friends at one point. And that's, like, hard, I think, for a lot of people to let go of, like, the friendship that you once had when you had everything in common. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's not even outgrowing. It's more so an evolution.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I kind of hate when you and a friend don't see each other as much anymore, and then, like, one person is trying to force the friendship, another person's not as into it because they've changed and they don't feel that you're as compatible as friends anymore. I just don't think that that's worth it. Like, there are people out there who you are going to be good friends with, and you just have to meet them. Yeah. And you can't let, like, old friendships that don't really fit anymore hold you back from meeting new people.
For sure. Yeah, I totally, totally agree. And I think it's also cool that you can meet people as an adult. Like, before I was like, oh, how do you meet friends when you're out of school? Like, there's no way that you'll meet good friends. But you do. Like, you meet a lot of people every day. And I think, I don't know if it's in every industry, because we go to a lot of events with a lot of people that we don't know. But I'm sure it happens. But like, regardless of your job, maybe it's just not in, like, a job setting. But you meet, like, coworkers and stuff too.
Yeah.
But I think that you just need to be open to it, and you need to make an effort with people, which is something that's really important. I think when you realize that your friends, or, like, you're looking for new friends, that's when you're more open. Because in high school, you're like, I have my friends. And it's actually a lot easier to be satisfied with what you have, like, your social circle. So I think that that's kind of cool. And I've met a lot of people recently that I connect with, and I think are, like, friends that I probably will have in my life, like, at least, well, this version of myself.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I think that you probably have more in common with the friends that you met recently than you do with the friends that you met when you were in a different stage of your life. Just because maybe now you're, like, looking for friends that are similar to you now, and also just because the way that you meet people is, like, through your job, for example. So you're going to meet people who are doing similar things, who are either working in the social media space or the fashion industry. Like, you're just bound to meet people that you are more similar to.
Yeah, and now when I meet people, I know if I'll be friends with them pretty quickly. Like, within 5 minutes, I'm like, do we connect or not? And I'm not trying to be friends with someone who is so different than me. Like, we can be acquaintances. It's great to know people and, you know, be able to say hi to people if you run into them, but we don't need to be best friends. Like, I'm not trying to make everyone my friend.
And I think that's another thing that you learn with age.
People pleasing and all that.
Yeah, for sure. And also just realizing that your time is so valuable and you don't want to waste it on people who you don't actually think are, like, the kind of people that you want to be friends with, you know?
For sure. Yeah, I have high expectations for my friends. Not, like, I'm not going to, like, backtrack, but I expect my friends to be a few things, and it's like reliable and honest and all of those things, because I don't want to waste time and energy with people that don't add value to my life.
For sure.
I feel like everything needs to add value to your life when you're older, because you do have really limited time and energy. Everyone's busy, working, all of those things. So if you're going to have an hour or two a week to see friends, you want to make sure that it's going to, like raise your energy and give you something. Yeah.
And I think in high school, a lot of people tolerate behavior that they wouldn't when they were older.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, maybe it's that there's only a set group of people you can be friends with. So you just kind of have to take people for what they are and not expect them to be perfect. I mean,
no one's perfect, but
no one's perfect, but like there are certain qualities about them that you're just like, I don't love that, but these are the people I can be friends with, so I guess I'll put up with it.
It's true, but I also think that's true because when you're in high school, you have to be around those people. But for me to see my friends, I have to make a point of seeing them. We don't even really talk. We were talking about this the other day. Like, I don't really talk to my friends unless we're making plans to see each other or like catching up occasionally, but I'd prefer to catch up on FaceTime or in person. So it's just so different. Like, you maintain relationships with so many more people than I do. So I don't need to like see someone ever again if I don't want to. Like, maybe we'll run into each other one day, but it's not like I'm going to school on Monday and I need to be nice to them, or we have like an interconnected friend dynamic where I can't really unfriend someone,
Yeah.
So I think that makes a lot of sense.
And when you have less friends, you can really choose the people you want to be friends with, and you're able to give more time and attention to those friendships, and you end up being closer with your friends than I think maybe you are in high school, because you just have the time to devote to those friendships and you're not trying to maintain 50 friendships,
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, well, think about maintaining a relationship. Like, it does take a lot of time and energy. So maybe the relationships that you have later in life, or like I guess anyone that you're friends with when you're a bit older, you're an adult, they're probably deeper friendships than the friendships that you have in high school, because everyone has limited friendships and they're giving their limited time and energy to them, and they truly care.
Right.
And if you have friendships that you've maintained, you care about them, because it's easy to kind of drift away from people especially if you live different lives.
Right. So, you have to really want to be friends with them to make it work, because you're so busy.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And everyone's busy. But yeah.
And I think when you're in high school, you share every little detail of your life more than adults do. But maybe you don't talk about the deeper stuff, or you don't actually have a deep connection with your friends like you do when you're older.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if that's true for everyone, but
yeah, I think it depends on the friend.
Experience.
But yeah, we don't chat about nonsense, really. We don't Snapchat.
That is so crazy to me. Like, if something funny happens to me, I'm telling my friends.
And it would have to be pretty funny, and I would tell my group chat, Abby and Sid. Like, I would send them a text. But like, it would have to be pretty good, because everyone's busy. Like, I don't need a reaction from them. I don't know how to explain it, but like, I would want to make sure that they would think it was funny. Right. Or else I'll just tell them in person, or, keep it to myself, or tell someone that I see in person.
Or like, if it came up in a conversation, you would mention it, but you wouldn't go out of your way to tell them.
Yeah, because we don't talk a lot. So that would be like the first text that day. So it would have to be like hilarious.
But I Snapchat my friends all day.
Right.
And they'll send me story times. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to New York. And they're like, send vlogs of what you're up to.
Oh, no. I would never do
that's just not a thing when you're older.
No, it's not. But if you see someone in person, that's completely different, because you're making conversation, you're filling time, and I guess like conversation with them.
Telling stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then that's who I would tell the stories to. But no, my friends that I don't see, we don't really text.
Interesting.
So
how do you maintain those friendships?
We talk on the phone. Like, my friend Sid went on a few trips. She has a lot to tell me, but she's busy this weekend, so we're going to talk next week, because she has my other friend's wedding. Like, I'm not going to try to call her or like really text them this weekend, obviously. And she was busy last week too, so we're going to talk on next week, and I want to hear all of that like this weekend. She'll tell me stories, and we'll talk for like 2 or 3 hours.
Okay.
And like, we'll take turns. Like, she'll be like, okay, you go first, because I have a lot to say. So you tell me what you've been doing. How was New York? And then she'll tell me about everything she did.
See, that's funny because I have some friendships that are like that. It's mostly friends that I don't see often, like my friend Ashley from England or Anna who lives in Vancouver, but I haven't seen her in like 2 years.
Yeah.
She called me the other day and we talked on FaceTime for like a few hours and fully caught up. But we were like, we haven't talked in so long and we didn't even realize. And it doesn't feel like a lot of time has passed until you're catching up and you're like, okay, what's the last thing I told you?
Right.
You know, and you realize it was a long time ago. But I don't feel disconnected from those friends at all. We just have a different relationship than the people I see often.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's more of the friendships I have. But I also don't see those people.
Right.
Like, I saw Abby recently, but before that it was like in the winter, like in January. Like once every like 4 months.
Honestly,
but we talk a lot.
That's my favorite way to stay in touch, though, because I think especially when you have a group of friends in the place where you're living, like you have friends in LA that maybe you tell the little things to, or you see them more often so they hear about like every detail of your life, whatever. But the friends far away, you have to only tell them important things because it's honestly kind of hard to make friendships work when you feel like you have to tell everyone every little thing.
You can't.
And it almost feels like a chore to be like, oh, I have to call this person that I haven't seen in a year and fill them in on what happened today.
No, yeah.
Like, you just end up telling them the important things so they feel like they're still a part of your life, but they don't need to hear everything. Like, they're living their own life, you're living your own life.
I think that's the thing, too, when you're an adult. Like, everyone is living their own life, and you kind of have to be fine with living your own life and having a low-maintenance friendship, and then connecting when it makes sense for both of you. And you can't take things personally if someone, you know, can't talk on the phone that week or that day that you wanted to. Like, it's not about you. Right. Everyone's busy and living their life. So that was a long talk about friendships. But I think I learned a lot about friendships this year. And maybe it's because I moved to LA in October. And we always lived in LA, like back and forth. But that was the first time I was really settled and wanted to make an effort to have a friend group of some sort. Because before I was like, oh, I'm here for 2 weeks. Like, I'm not going to reach out to people. But I've made some friends there, which has been really nice. And it's put things into perspective. Just all the things that we were talking about, like growing up and what adult friendships are like. So, yeah, that was my first thing I learned. Well, there's like a bunch of lessons in there. But the first major thing I learned this year was just all about adult friendships. Number 2, I think we talked about this with JC. And it's the concept of hustle culture and how hustle culture was glorified, especially during COVID, because people were like, if you're not working, then what are you doing? If you're not starting a business, what are you doing? And then it went the other way where people were like cancel hustle culture. We don't want to talk about hustle culture. Like, don't feel bad about that. And now I'm like, how do I feel about this? Because this is something that it's so podcasty. Like, every podcast is like talking about hustle culture and stuff. Do you find that?
Yeah, I don't honestly listen to that many podcasts.
But during COVID, it always came up, and even in our podcast.
Okay, I will say I agree with you because I feel like the mindset went from you have so much free time now that there's a pandemic and everyone's at home, and you need to make the most of this time. So if you're not taking up a new hobby, starting a business, what are you doing?
You're a loser.
What are you doing? You're a loser.
Literally.
And then I think things shifted to there's a global pandemic. Like, please be easy on yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you're going through so much. So now we're in this awkward place.
Yeah.
Where we don't know what to think about it.
Yeah. And I feel like what I took from that was I was fine during COVID. Like, my life didn't change very much. I didn't lose my business. My family was fine. You know, like, I didn't have anything so traumatic happen to me. So maybe there was a point where I was like, oh my gosh, I should be easier on myself. Like, you know, because that's what everyone was saying. But I don't really think that I needed to be easier on myself. And I actually probably should have been more focused on what I wanted to do. Right. And that kind of explains my mentality toward work in general, which, as we've discussed, may not be the best or most balanced mentality. But I just feel like at this point in my life, I live alone. Well, with you now, but we work together.
Roomies.
I live alone. My friends all do similar things and are all busy. I'm single. Like, I don't have a boyfriend. I'm not married. I don't have kids. My parents live elsewhere. Like, I don't have, like, family really, like, other than you. And, well, at this point right now.
And at this point, we're coworkers.
This summer, yeah. So why wouldn't I be working? Like, if I'm not going to be working, I'm going to be, like, laying on the couch watching TV.
Relaxing. Socializing.
I do socialize.
Mm-hmm.
I do socialize. I feel like I'm fulfilled by my socialization that I do now. But I just don't think that I need to relax when I'm in my mid-20s. And I think that, like, my dad always says this, like, your generation, like, wants to rest so much. And, like, he didn't have that, and maybe that's just him. But I think that just feel like I need to work more. Not necessarily more, but maybe be more focused on work and focused on when I am working and make sure that it's really intentional. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that hustle culture is cool, like hustling for the sake of it. But I think that just like, being busy to be busy or to appear busy, I don't think that that's cool at all, because I think it actually shows that you don't really have priorities.
Yeah. But
I think that like hard focused work and putting the hours in when you're young is actually really beneficial, at least for my life and the life that I want to have. Like, I can imagine myself when I'm like 50 years old and I get tired. You know how older people get tired? Like, I don't really get tired at this stage in my life. Like, I can work and stay up late and get up early and it's fine.
Mm-hmm. But I also think that maybe that's just you. Like, some people have a really hard time working all the time. Like, they feel like they need to relax.
Totally.
Or what they're doing won't be sustainable. Like, people talk about burnout. How do you feel about that? Do you believe that it's real, or is it real to you?
I don't think that I don't know. I've never felt burnt out.
Okay.
Like, I just don't feel like that. So I just think that I should be definitely more focused, because I tend to be a little bit scattered with work. Mm-hmm. You know how I was explaining to you, like, I can't just do something when it pops into my head. I have to write it down and be more focused and make lists and be like, have priorities, because I think that that's how you get things done. But yeah, in terms of burnout, I don't think that I really have ever felt that. And I don't think that I would feel burnt out with the job that I have, because I genuinely enjoy it and it genuinely fulfills me.
Do you think that's what's keeping you from feeling burnt out, or do you just think it's you?
I don't know.
Do you think in any job you would be able to work as hard as you do and not relax and still feel fine?
I think that if I was working a corporate job, I would still work really hard when I was there, but I probably wouldn't care about it once I left, you know?
Right.
Because it's someone else's dream, someone else's project, like something that they really want to be successful, and you're kind of just, you're working for them. But I think that I would probably fill my time with other things that fulfill me, like working out. Mm-hmm. There's things like, I just don't feel the need to rest, and maybe that's a personality trait. Like resting with zero to do. Mm-hmm. That doesn't energize me.
I will say, I don't find that motivating either. Like, I don't really feel like resting makes me think I can take on the world. Like,
no.
I have now relaxed and I'm ready to get back to work. For me, I just get mad at myself. And maybe that's not a good thing, but I'm just like, I'm wasting my time. Like, I could be doing something important, beneficial, and I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I don't feel like I have to rest, so it doesn't feel beneficial to me.
It doesn't make me feel good at all. Like, this is the next topic, is about drinking, but say if I go out and I'm kind of hungover the next day and I'm laying around or just like not being productive, I feel terrible. Mm-hmm. It's not energized. Well, that could have been from being hungover, but even if I wasn't hungover and I was just trying to relax a little bit, like sit on the couch or like lay by the pool. Honestly, laying by the pool feels better because it's kind of productive, because you're like, I can get a little bit of a tan, you know. But
so I'm like, it's good to be outside, so this is good. This is beneficial, vitamin D.
I'm outside. So let's say like laying on the couch, because I feel like that is totally unproductive. Yeah, that would not energize me. I can't nap. That doesn't energize me. It makes me feel way more tired and way worse. And I just feel like, bring back hustle culture. Hustle culture is amazing, guys. Mm-hmm. No, I'm just kidding.
I feel like I've thought about this.
Okay.
Now. So I don't feel like relaxing motivates me. Working motivates me.
Yes,
like,
same.
I don't know what it is about it. Just
it's so exciting.
Working. I just feel proud of myself. And I think that working in other areas of my life makes me feel good too, and makes me feel fulfilled. Like, you could consider it self-care to like go for a run, or even go for a stroll outside. That is motivating to me. That makes me feel good, and it's also relaxing. Like,
Yeah.
Going for a walk isn't really that productive to like it's, I don't know, it's good for you to be outside. It's like light exercise though, you know, you're just moving your body. Yeah. It's good, but
when I take the dogs, I feel like it's really productive because I'm doing something for them.
Like, I'm helping them. I like going for a walk because that's a better way for me to relax.
Totally.
So maybe we just relax.
Oh, you're like me.
In a different way, I guess.
You're exactly like me, Lauren.
Okay. Well, let's not say that.
You're so lucky, honestly. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that working is the most energizing thing. Like, way more than relaxing. So I just think that it's fine. Like, you just have to figure out what works for you, but it's not bad to want to work. And I feel like that's kind of the place that we've gotten post-COVID. I mean, people are kind of getting more back to normal, and we don't have as much as that, like, take it easy on yourself discussion as much as we did in 2020 and 2021. But I just think that it's fine if you're in your 20s and you want to work because you're young and, well, at least for me, I don't have anyone tying me down, let's just say.
I kind of feel like everyone should just mind their own business. Like, if you want to work hard, go for it. Like, if you want to work hard all hours of the day, like, do it. Who cares?
So true.
And if you want to relax and you relax by lying down on the couch, go for it. Who cares? It's your life.
That's true.
Do whatever makes you feel good and fulfilled.
That's the thing. I totally understand that everyone has a different life and is energized differently. And I, like you said, like, I literally don't care. I don't care about what anyone else does, though, to be honest.
Me neither.
I'm like, honestly, I'm non-judgmental because I understand that everyone lives their own life and is doing what's best for them. Like, everyone's just trying their best.
Yeah. Honestly, we just need a little more empathy around here.
Wow. We've solved all the problems in the world. That's it. Okay, so my next one is about drinking. I feel like in university especially, drinking was everything. Like, going out and drinking, like, in my social circle at least, was kind of an expectation. And you'll probably find this, you know, in a few years when you're old enough in the U.S. because the drinking age is 21. But it's hard to socialize, even now, honestly. Like, we went to an event yesterday, and people are like, oh, do you want to go get a drink from the bar? Like, that's just what you do at events. So I think just being more intentional about it and not just having a drink because your friends are doing it. Like, I'm at a place in my life where I don't care about peer pressure. I never really cared about it, but it's funny. I was with some people, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and this guy said to me, oh, do you want to get a drink, or do you want a drink? And I'm like, no, it's 2 a.m. Like, I'm going home. And he's like, wow, you're so disciplined or something. And I'm like, really? I just know myself, and I don't care. I'm not trying to impress him or anyone. Like,
you're like, I just don't want another drink right now, so I'm not going to have one.
Yeah, it's not really discipline, but maybe it requires discipline in other settings. Like, if you're at a dinner and the waiter comes in and is like, oh, what do you guys want to drink?
Right.
To not get one unless you genuinely want one. Like, ask yourself, do I actually want to drink tonight, or am I just doing it because everyone else is? And for me, it kind of goes back to the work conversation because I found that drinking really affects my productivity and also the way that I feel. So I think it's just being more intentional and knowing that if you want certain things in your life, it requires you to give up other things. Like, everything that you choose, so if you're choosing to start a business and build a business, requires you to say no to other things. And for me, that's probably drinking often, and also drinking a lot. And I've kind of figured it out this year, so I'm proud of myself that at 25, I figured out how to go out and have fun with friends or, you know, connect with people, which is also important. But at the same time, have like 2 or 3 drinks and hopefully not be like tired the next day. So that's that. Any thoughts?
It's kind of hard for me to comment on because I don't really know how what your friend's attitude toward drinking is, or like how much pressure you feel to drink, or how it's seen socially when you decide not to drink at an event, you know? So it's hard for me to say.
I feel like less so than when I was younger. Like, in university, it would have been a bigger issue than now because my friends get it, and also they know me. Like, my friends that I hang out with are like, oh, whatever, it's fine. Like, that's just the way that you are. And they don't care. Like, I said to one of my friends, I was like, I never have fun. Like, how do you have fun? Not even the conversation that we just had, but with another one of my friends. And she's like, now she just says, oh, Maddie hates going out. She just doesn't have fun. She never has fun. And she'll tell other people that. I'm like, that's not necessarily true. I just think going to a club is not fun.
Right.
Like, I know myself.
That's just not what you find fun.
Totally, yeah. Fun is subjective. Fun is subjective. You're like, yeah, you're no fun.
Like, I personally would probably find that kind of fun, but
as I told you, it's because you've never done it. Like,
right.
It's fun when you
Nope, never.
It's fun when you're 19.
Yeah, okay,
like,
fair.
The first year of university, I'm like, oh my God, going out is so fun. Like, I love it. It's such a new experience. But
right.
I'm pushing 26, and it's been 7 years of the same thing. And we literally had this whole conversation at lunch yesterday when I was explaining to Lauren what it's like to go out at, like, a university bar. And it's just, like, not that fun after a while.
But you said you had more fun in university going out than you do now, right?
It depends, obviously, but it was just more fun because you'd see people that you know.
Okay.
But if you live in a big city, you have to go with a good group. But if you're going to a bar or whatever with 2 friends and, like, you're just talking to each other, I'm like, we can just do this at home, guys. We can go to a restaurant.
I find it interesting that you kind of stick to the friends you come with.
Yeah. Or we'll meet other people, but usually people aren't, like, trying to chat because you're at a club and you can't hear anything.
Fair. Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about drinking. It is something that I learned this year. Last but not least, this is something that I think is interesting. And it is, you are who your parents are unless you decide not to be.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really hard because, first of all, you need to identify the traits that you have gotten from your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And those are always, I think, a combination of good and bad things. Your parents obviously teach you lessons that are really great, and it forms your personality. And there's, I'm sure, things that you have identified that you don't want to continue to have or be like.
Right.
And that's because your parents are just people. And everyone, you know, and you probably have a different opinion on what's good and what's bad. Like, every parent parents their children differently, a little bit differently than how their parents did.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just knowing that you literally are who your parents are, unless you've consciously looked at yourself and been like, okay, what do I want to change?
Mm-hmm.
But change is also really hard.
Yes. And I think that when you look at your parents, you kind of decide whether certain behaviors you are either going to adopt them, and you're also going to behave like that, or maybe you'll do the complete opposite. You're like, I don't want to inherit that trait of my parents, so I'm going to make a point of not doing it. But I think unless you have that thought, naturally, you're likely to become like them. Unless
it's, like, really good or really bad. Unless you're, you know, like the trait that you're talking about. Because I feel like generally with something average, like in the middle, that doesn't really affect you that much, regardless of what it is, in life in general. If you have an average experience, you generally are not going to have a strong opinion towards it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of just, it doesn't affect you that much. So those are the traits that are the most stuck to you because you can't really recognize them.
I think also, though, the traits that you perceive as being good.
Yeah, like, that's true.
If you are taught that a certain trait is good, so Maddie and I were talking about how we were kind of raised to be very self-sufficient and not ask for help with things, essentially.
Yeah.
So Maddie was saying that she sees that, or she was taught that that is a good trait, to not ask for help.
And it's uncomfortable to think about asking for help.
Right. And I'm like, well, not necessarily. Like, asking for help can be a good thing if you need help with it, and it makes more sense for someone else to help you out, you know?
Yeah.
But you just kind of naturally adopt those traits from your parents.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, so that whole concept is just about, maybe it makes sense as an adult to look at yourself and just decide whether there's traits that you've taken from your parents that you don't want to have in your life, and especially before you have kids. Like, it seems like having kids would be a lot of pressure because you have to do all of this growth before, like, ideally you would do all this growth before you have them.
Right.
Before you start parenting, because if you don't, then you just take those traits that you took from your parents and continue this cycle. So it's just about being really conscious. And I think that that's something that I really want to do as I continue to get older. And I don't know, I haven't really thought that much about this, so I guess I haven't like consciously changed.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that I think would be interesting to at least look into. I feel like it would be a lot of work though, and like hard to do,
Mm-hmm.
especially by yourself.
It's hard to identify all the parts of yourself that came from your parents if you're just living, you know?
It's funny because I could probably do it for you more so than I could do it for myself. Maybe we should have an exercise.
Okay.
Live on the podcast.
Next time on Call Your Friends.
No one listens to this, right? So it's fine.
Our parents are like, huh.
Oh, okay. That's great. All right. Well, I think that's it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next Friday.
Bye.
Bye.